Welcome to Charts Today. My name's David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 11th of December, comes to you from London. And we start by looking at currencies. A lot of red on the screen, so we can see markets just having a bit of a setback. But looking at the dollar here, this is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute chart with the corresponding point and figure targets. Of course, Updata runs on multiple data services, so I'm running here on Thomson Reuters Icon. If you're a private user, Metastock Zenith is the same feed. And we see here I'm running multiple services, but for today I'm using Thomson Reuters Icon. So my long-term chart is still bearish. Interestingly, we had a big down week last week. We've had an attempt at recovery this week, but just failing. This is the daily chart just showing the last week, and the 60-minute chart really showing very clearly the days, so Monday through to now. Flat on the dollar, so a flat week for the dollar at the moment is a good week in this downtrend, but dollar weakness is very much the theme. The euro is slightly down against the dollar, but it is still bullish on the short term, the medium term, and the long term chart. Remembering, if I'm above the cloud on the Ichimoku charts, then I'm bullish, and bullish on all three time frames with upside targets. This short term chart are the targets that we're currently looking to. Taking a look at the Japanese yen, we're sitting at 104 against the dollar. That's been just steady decline from around 108 several months ago down to 104, just showing that dollar weakness there. Sterling sitting at 132.25. That's down against a weaker dollar. Of course, fears on Brexit. So we are seeing sterling trending lower, and we do have some downside targets. But the trend against the dollar is up against that dollar weakness. Is just Brexit fears at the moment. Sterling falling to 109, so we're really seeing it fall against the euro. And so we're bearish on all three time frames here with downside targets, so that's quite key as well. Taking a look at Bitcoin, we're sitting below the $18,000 mark now, 17,800. We met this target, 19,744, almost exactly, and we're now falling back. We've got some downside targets, one at 3.75%. If you're trading Bitcoin, keep an eye on the 1 minute targets. The S&P 500 index was down slightly yesterday. The Nasdaq also just slipping a little bit. Really key that the majors are just struggling to make new highs. The Nasdaq index itself has made new highs, but we saw yesterday when we looked at it, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Facebook all struggling. Only Google or Alphabet is the one that's making new highs. The Dow Jones Index at 29,999, falling just below that 30,000 mark, a smidgen below, but that's just the market setting back about 0.25%. We are seeing the futures down about 0.5% today. This is the S&P E-mini and the Nasdaq E-mini down by the same amount. So we're seeing the futures falling, and that means that the VIX volatility, the fear index, is rising. So we are just seeing a little bit of a change there. The FTSE future, the UK, is down 0.75% on the future. And if we look at the cash market in Germany, we're down just under 1%, and the CAC Courant just down under 1% as well. Brexit fears probably starting to weigh a little bit on European markets, and the fact that we're seeing coronavirus cases rising faster than we can obviously get people vaccinated, so that's coming to play as well. Looking at the Japanese market, we're up 0.25% here, so that's looking quite strong. The Hang Seng Index was up 0.33%. Shanghai, the Chinese market, was actually down 0.77%. We've just struggled really to break out on the Shanghai market, so that's really quite key there. So that's another factor there. The Sensex is also just flat, but the Indian market relatively strong, having a strong week as well. The Aussie market down 0.6%, still struggling just to get above the cloud on that weekly chart, and a long way to go before the Aussie market makes a new all-time high, that resource-laden index, of course. Gold has just ticked up this morning. It is still bearish below the cloud, and we are in medium and short-term bearish. We do have downside targets. We've got one here, 18% lower. If we go below that low, we activate that. But the long-term chart is still bullish, and of course we do still have this massive target if we make new highs. Silver just below the 24 mark. 23 is the real support level on silver. 23.50 is pretty critical on that very short-term chart. 24 is the level, so we just need to watch that. A little bit of a triangle flag pattern building here, so we just need to be wary. But the long-term charts are still bullish. Copper is down 1%. It was up quite strongly yesterday. We see the weekly candle here starting to look a little bit like a doji. Massive run in silver in copper from 2,000 to 3,500. The biggest used base metal in the world, of course, and so one to watch for just economic activity. We do have upside targets, some still 10% higher on both charts here, and we are bullish on all three time frames. US 10-year yields fell back very heavily yesterday. And down further this morning, we're below the 0.90%, so that's significant. We're seeing the yields on the 10-year just for turning short-term bearish. The medium and long-term trends are starting to look still pretty bullish. Looking at the energy mix now, a sea of red. We were neutral on Brent crude this week, and we have actually risen. We had a strong day yesterday. We didn't make it to 51. That's the highest level we've seen in a long time, but we are just falling back this morning, 0.44%. But there's no question that we're seeing some strength in the oil price. WTI, much the same. And if we look at US nat gas, that is sitting at $2.54. So it's come off that 240 range. Had a bit of a jump there on storage numbers yesterday, so it's looking a little bit better, but still teetering along the bottom. We need to hold this 237, 240 level. That's really significant support, and we need to just make sure we hold that. RBOB is down on lower crude prices, and if we look at coal, still looking very bullish, bucking the trend this morning. Coal was our most bullish call this week, still going higher. Emissions falling back, still holding that €30 mark. We did actually make a closing high, multi-years, several years. I think it's really about a 12-year closing high yesterday. So really significant there, but just pulling back a little bit this morning. We do have a little downside target, but these upside targets ruling. We expect a strong week in emissions next week. TTF front month down 1.7%. That's giving a downside target. Seasonal gas also down 1%, so that's quite key as well. Looking at German power on the cow, we're down 1.2%. Just pulling back. We did nudge that €45 mark yesterday, a really strong day. We can see there on the daily chart. The key thing is we're breaking to new highs, the highest level since in January, and we do have further upside targets which should come into play. Looking at Nordic power, we're down 5%. A lot of volatility in the Nordic power market, and on the quarterly contract we're down 9%, so very significant there as well. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. Until Monday, happy charting. See you then.